Ladies and gentlemen, Bart Hufen.
Thank you. I thought before we start, if you're okay with it, maybe it's fun to do a boomerang. Because you've been sitting a long time. Do you know boomerang? So I'm going to ask you, I don't know if we can put on the lights in the audience real quickly. If not, yeah, there we go. Can we do, everyone can do something strange. Be careful not to hit your neighbor, but maybe that's fun. And we have some nice social media. Okay, there we go. 1, 2, 3, yay! Thank you. That's good for sharing stuff online. I mean, it has been so serious throughout the whole morning. And I'm going to be quite serious as well today because I'm going to talk to you a little bit about 2-year research, but also about 8-year history that I was involved in the last 8 years. So I'll explain this later. So this is the program for the next 25 minutes. I'm going to talk to you about progress and my personal progress in this business. And eventually, today I'm reaching out actually to partners, so you know where it ends. So I didn't study game design. I'm 44 years old, so in my days there wasn't an education in Holland about game design. There was a first release from the HKU, which is called Interaction Design. So I graduated at a company called IJsfontein in Holland. And I wrote a paper for them how they should progress their business. And they're still around these days, so I wrote a damn good paper, I think. But I got a job offered at Atari as a product manager. And it wasn't called Atari at the moment, it was called Infogrames, a French company, but that name sucked. Everyone said Infogames. That's the same game like edutainment, it doesn't work. So Infogames was transformed into Atari because they bought Hasbro Interactive. Did it for 3 years. Then I leveled up to Diesel, because Diesel was a clothing brand that did a lot of with games already in those days. This was 2003, I think. And I organized one of the first local area network competitions with the prize money to go to a Diesel fashion show. That's how I got involved in Diesel. But we did a competition with Unreal tournaments, together with Clanbase, online first, and then a physical competition. So now esports is huge, but I like to think I was one of the guys that started a little bit in that industry way back. So worked 2 years in the advertising industry, started studying brand management, and I got fired. And up to this day, it's the best day of my life that I got fired, because I didn't really like the job I had. My girlfriend left me, I had to sell my house, and it was a crisis. It was 2009, and I thought, this is the best moment to start my own company. So I founded a brand new game, and I'll tell you the rest in the next 20 minutes. So we've been working in the past years for a lot of beautiful clients, and I say my company is still one-man band, but I work together with a lot of professionals. So basically, the game loop, or the progress loop as I call it, showing you quickly, I'm not going to go into detail, I'm not getting too theoretically, but I was inspired a few years at the GDC that someone explained to me the game mechanics of Farmville. And once again, I'm not a game designer, so my eyes opened up and I finally understood why games are so addictive. Because good games give you a routine that's so compelling and so interesting that you just don't want to stop. I mean, who plays Candy Crush, for instance, or played it, or Tetris, or Farmville? Most of the people, so now I saw all the hands. So if you play Candy Crush, you don't play it once and then you put it away, right? I mean, there's little people that do that. So it's so contagious that you want to keep playing. So I did 2 years of research to see what companies should master, which processes they should master to become a really progressive company with exponential growth. And it all came down to inventing stuff, so thinking of new stuff to do, making it, so making an MVP or prototype, version 1, whatever, selling it, and then improving it. And that's funny that there's still no company that has an improvement department, or there's no one responsible for improving, where I think the CEO should be responsible for continuous improvement. But this is like the loop that every company in some way manages throughout different departments, etc. And I'm going to talk to you about the selling part, because you could say selling is also telling, testing, and selling. It has different phases and different levels, and but it's a loop. It's a loop. If you organize well, it's a loop. It's not a year. It's like we start in January and we end in December, and then we start again in January and then end in December. No, your whole life is a loop, and eventually you'll die. So have fun in the process, because you never know how long you're going to get. So I do publications, I do presentations, I've done a lot of projects, but it frustrates me that I couldn't create a product because I never had any staff in my company. So now I've reached that level, fortunately. Since 2 years I met a guy who was my god. He's a programmer, 44 years old, and he builds everything in HTML. But we're now looking for partners. So I'm going to quickly go through the processes. You can take pictures, but everything will be available later, of course. So if you're looking at partners, this is thanks to PowerPoint. I had a keynote with great special effects, but in PowerPoint it comes down like this. Well, that's Apple versus not so sexy. So publications, yeah. I wrote since 2009, as soon as I got fired, I started blogging about my two passions, marketing and games, so branding and games. And it was actually called gamingandbranding.blogspot.com, because Google provided a free service to create your own blog. So I started writing articles. So like everything I saw, I just wrote it down as a memento. I could do it in a Word document, but then no one would see it. So I put it on blogs and I started sharing stuff online, and I started a group in LinkedIn and sharing stuff there and asking feedback, and I had a continuous dialogue with loads of people about the things I posted on my blog. So it's my own website where I started off, but I shared it through the social media. And I can highly recommend any person and any company to just do that. But choose a content form that really fits you. I'm not a writer, I'm not an author. Someone said yesterday he's an author in denial. I'm also an author in denial. I wrote 3 books, but I'm not an author. I'm a speaker. I like to speak to people and make jokes and have fun a bit. So choose a content form that really fits you. Professor Game, Rob, obviously is into talking or listening and interviewing people. So a content form of a podcast is very logical for you. And you could also, of course, use different types of content. So I also wrote a few books, like I said, and one book is available as a free download, but don't think it's a white paper of 4 pages. It's a full 200 pages book, but it's a bit outdated now because it's from 2013. But still, I think it's really fun to read it because you see that a lot of predictions I made back then are actually taking place right now. And it wasn't about gamification because I didn't even know the word gamification yet. I heard it in 2012, I think, for the first time, so I was late hearing that. I can highly recommend to write more blogs than books, by the way, just a hint. But you have to create content consistently, and this is, I think, very important if you want to get known, if people want to see you. Why? Because Google loves content, and they love consistent content, because that's basically a big part of their business. So, yeah, I can recommend for you to create a content strategy and to think about if you've done a project, write a paper about it, put it on your website, share it with your crowd, and then maybe you'll find some new leads, do a new project again. That's basically how it goes. So thanks to the publications I've done in the past, books and blogs, I get invited to do talks. That's very nice, because I like talking. And you can do it for free sometimes, like today, because I just love you people. Or you can ask for a fee, a small fee if I sell it myself, or if it goes through my agency, they ask for a bigger fee, which is convenient. And sometimes surprises me that I'm talking about my hobby for half an hour and I get 2,500 euros for it. But there's always someone in the audience, maybe 2 or 10 people, that need navigation, that are inspired by your talk or feel your energy and think, hey, I want to do something with this. It sounds a bit weird, that whole gaming thing, gamification, but this guy seems so enthusiastic about it, it must work. So eventually, after most talks, I invite people to leave their business card here, and I give them either points in return. Yes, points do work sometimes. And you might think, what is it worth? Well, it's worth nothing. It just has the website on a back end, so people can go there and watch our cases. But obviously, if you want to transform from publications and presentations into projects, you need to remain relevant. First of all, be relevant and then remain relevant, which is quite hard to do, especially in these days when the attention span of any consumer is about, I don't know, 1 minute. We've been noticing when we release applications and it doesn't start up faster than 3 seconds, people already say it's broken, so they close it. So it's really crazy these days. So you need to find a way to remain relevant to your audience, whether it's the audience over here or your customers. So if we start up a project, obviously we try to do a big launch. During the project we ask questions like how well is it going? So after the first week or the second week I give a phone call or I come by. We do product testing before we release something. So there's a loop in your daily contact or weekly or monthly contact with your client. And if something has finished, like if you have a project like a serious game that's done, we always do an evaluation meeting and we find out what worked really well, what doesn't work, because I think it's really important to stay in touch. And also something I found out a few years ago is that the ego is a beautiful thing. And we take advantage of that. So every client that assigns us for the second time or asks us to do a project for the second time, we give to them an award. And we create an avatar of them. These are truly clients of mine. The first is from the biggest sneaker retailer in Europe. I can't say the name because it's being filmed, but you'll guess the brand probably. The second is Ziggo, the third is Vodafone, and the fourth is the city of Amsterdam. And these were all people that trusted me twice after doing it once, and apparently I must have done something right. So we create this beautiful award, and they hang it up in the room, seriously. The award of being a game changer, that they have the guts to try something different. And the guy on the left, he is a vice president of Europe, so he's a quite high person in the hierarchy. And he was so proud that I gave it to him. It was really funny to see. So sometimes badges or whatever you want to call it does work. Also because they, and I can't disclose it in detail, but they also gave me a button or a badge, if you will. So I guess it's true that badges in the essence are not important because the intrinsic value of this thing, if you produce it, is nothing. I mean, I could produce it. But the fact that they gave it to me because they thought that what we have done for them was so powerful that normally they only give these to employees, but I got one because they were so happy with what we did for them, done for them. What I want to say is that you also have to be there in bad times. So if clients are not satisfied, obviously you need to find a way to make them satisfied, because if you run away, you'll lose a client and they will tell the rest of the world. So you have to always be staying in touch. We also have a project that we recently done a year ago, and the uptake of the game was very, very low. So we reached only 80 people of the 1,200 in that company, and we've had 2 meetings to discuss what the reasons could have been. They don't blame us, they just are as disappointed as I am, and we are still talking with them, and I promise them as soon as we have time in our agenda that next year we will re-release the game, hopefully with a bigger impact, because I guess this happens. 80 people of 1,200, yeah. So it's a failure. It's a failure. But I'm not afraid to admit that, even for all my colleagues here, and also on video. And we will talk with them to see what we can do. It's the worst thing that ever happened in the past 8 years, but also a good thing. So when I started 8 years ago, I actually had nothing except for a book. So I had the book with all kinds of cases from competitors and a company I graduated from. And I asked for 100,000 euros to come up with an idea I didn't have yet, but I tried to sell that to my potential clients. It was a hard bargain, I can tell you. In the first year, I managed to land 3 customers eventually, but then after a few years, it was really hard to sell it. So I thought, well, maybe I need to have something. So I came up with the fact that I thought I needed a methodology, so I can sell my methodology instead of selling a product, because I don't have a product, I don't even have a project, I don't know what to do for this client. So this is my gamification canvas. I call it now because gamification had an uptake in popularity, but you can call it any name you want. And it's online if you're interested in it. I'm going to go through it really briefly because this is not what my talk is about. But I heard some stuff yesterday why things doesn't work. There's like 6 reasons why things don't work. And one of them is, I guess, because you need to solve a serious problem. So this is the serious problem of the client. They have an objective, a challenge, and I think you need to make it as smart as possible to make it measurable at least and to know what you want to achieve. But that's what the company wants. On the other hand, we work a lot for employees. So on the other hand, there's the employees, and they don't want that at all, because otherwise there was no problem, right? There was no objective at all, because everything's dandy. So here you have the player, and they have different drives and motivations that you need to tap into. So the thing that motivates them are something else than the objective itself. So we need to think about what type of behavior is desired and undesired, and we need to give feedback on that in a fun and functional way. And we do that by applying game mechanics or relevant content. So the content of the game could be the shape, the way it looks. If it's pink, I don't touch it. I'm sorry, I'm not really a pinkish guy. I like black, gray, and white. And the structure, obviously, so the database backend structure, and of course game mechanics. But that's just a little part, to my opinion, for your whole project. The context is also very, very relevant, because you have to know where people are when they play your game or gamification system. Are they working in their store? Are they sitting at home? Are they in the train on their iPhone? Because then they have a different interaction option than when you have a keyboard and a mouse or a joystick or whatever. So this is the gamification canvas, and I worked 3 years at the University of Amsterdam doing the practical exam for students there, and I taught them this methodology. And that helps if you tell potential clients, like, okay, we don't have a product for you, but we have a methodology that can help you and us through the whole process. So I found out that that really helped a lot. Second thing that actually became a product, but started off as a briefing methodology was, like I said, I used to work in advertising for 2 years, and then we came up with big briefing formats, and we sent them to the client, and they had to fill it in, and then we got it back, and then we briefed the creative team, and then we went into a room for 2 or 3 weeks, and then we presented the poster. And it was completely a different outcome than the client desired, because they said, yeah, I just want a poster with a logo here, and etc. It's no big deal. But we made it very complicated and not fun at all, to be honest. I don't like to read loads of stuff. So we came up with a playing board or a playground that we actually bring. It's a PVC canvas. We roll it out and we play a game with our clients. It's actually based on Donkey Kong, the classic Game & Watch version, where you have to save the princess by overcoming obstacles, by performing the right actions and getting eventually suffering the consequences of dying, or getting points and saving the princess and getting kisses. So you don't see the walls here, but it's like a system we do together with 6 people of the client. We ask them to define the objective. We ask them to think about the obstacles that are potentially in our way. So we get a lot of the negativity already on the table at the first meeting. They write down 3 of them each. So we have 18 problems lying on the table, but only 3 will reach it to the table. And then we'll divide the group of 6 people into 2 times 3. The killers and the creators, and we want the killers to think about everything that's wrong currently with the behavior of people, and the creators to think about the potential future and how people should behave. So should I don't know, not buy Coca-Cola, but should I try Pepsi, or should I stop doing this, being negative to my colleague, and start talking about potential in the future? What we also do, and this tackles the second problem I heard yesterday, is we calculate the potential impact of that behavior. So if people would stop picking up Coca-Cola and start trying Pepsi, what would the impact of that be? I can give you an example from a big telephone company with a beautiful red logo, because they said, we have a problem that consumers are not always greeted in our stores, and that costs us a lot of money, we think. They didn't know, but they thought. So I said to them, okay, so you want the behavior to change from not greeting into greeting. Quite basic behavior. Yes. So let's calculate the impact of a smile. So if people feel welcome in your store, and let's turn it around, if people don't feel welcome, how many people leave your store, do you think, on an average week? And he said, well, the most pessimistic scenario is that 1 consumer will leave our store and doesn't buy a thing. Okay, cool. So 1 consumer. How many stores do you have? We have 200 stores. Okay, so 1 consumer in 200 stores leaves your store every week. So that's 50 weeks in a year. And what's the average purchase value if they would have bought something? That's 100 euros. They knew that by heart. So I said, let's multiply these four, and then we ended up at 1 million euros. That's potentially saved or potential progress if we change the behavior of these people. That's correct, I say. And this is only one piece of paper. We have 8 left. So this methodology helps us a lot to sell in a project. That was something we realized later. But sell in a project because you have some value on the behavioral change that you foresee. We train people obviously in this methodology. It's a product. We give you everything you need, the send timers, the whole stuff. So next year we're going to do 4 workshops with the academy. So I had a methodology, and this product was actually so cool, according to the big sneaker retailer, that we played it with 860 store managers in Europe. And then recently in Germany, we played it with the Südzuckergruppe, a sugar company with 120 sales managers. So this method has become a project, or a product actually, that basically was thought of as a briefing tool, you know, to see what type of behavioral change we need. But people like it so much that it became a product. That's just one example. We also did it with ING Insurances, an insurance company that basically drifted off ING. So now they're called Nationale Nederlanden. It's a global organization, or at least they're based in Eurasia. You can watch the talk of my client actually online. It's on YouTube. They did a talk last year in Turkey. But they struggled with the fact that they defined 3 new brand values. They said, okay, we're not ING anymore, we're NN, and NN is about care, clear, and commit. Excellent, so we have 3 words, and everyone globally should know what it means. Yeah, we have 16,000 employees in 16 countries, or 12,000, sorry, in 16 countries, and they all need to have a feeling of what care, clear, and commit means. Now, does anybody play Hearthstone? Cool. Who doesn't know what Hearthstone is at all? Okay. Quickly, that's only 50-50. Hearthstone is a card game where basically, by playing cards, you have to eliminate your opponent. So we pitched that concept to NN, but they said, well, we don't want people to eliminate each other. So I could imagine that, insurance company and all. Although it might create new business. But, so, okay, he said, well, this game will not be about eliminating your opponent. This game will be about winning the stakeholder for you. So the game was about, there's a stakeholder on the table. It's, well, not physically, but she's called teleurgestelde Tineke. And disappointed diva, you could say. And she needs, well, some 3 points on care, 2 points on clarity, and 6 points on commitment. That's what she needs to feel. And you can give her that feeling by playing action cards. And those action cards were defined together with 100 people globally from NN. We did a questionnaire through Google. And we asked also what kind of game motivations they had, or what game mechanics they found interesting. So being reachable, or simplifying things are cards that have a certain impact on care, clear, and commit. Now, you wouldn't know that only if you play versus the computer, but if you play head-to-head, so peer-to-peer, you wouldn't know the impact. In this case, simplifying things will cost you 4 points of energy, but it will have impact on clarity, 4 points, and 2 points on commitment, because it shows quite some commitment if you try to clarify things to people over and over again, for instance. So it's a turn-based game, so like with Word Feud, first turn I have 1 point of energy, second turn 2, etc. And also your opponent. And eventually you will have a feeling of what type of impact certain actions have. And it's not the truth, and that was not what we were looking for either. Clarifying things maybe takes only 3 points of energy, or maybe it has far more impact on caring as well. But we wanted people to start talking about it. And they did. If you won a game, you got the stakeholder and you got more action cards. There were 85 in total. We knew that people were quite interested in collecting stuff. And you could win eventually 36 stakeholders. And the idea was that you had to discover them as soon as possible or win them. They did a global competition in all the 16 countries, yes. And eventually all the winner per countries could play against the board. So this is how serious they took it. It's like the highest of the highest people in this organization, 6 people played in the finals against other people. And it was really funny to see, at least I thought it was funny, that some people totally re-engineered this game in Excel. So they took all the cards and wrote down what the impact was on care, clear and commit, and they ended up in the finals. But also one lady from the reception, and she said, I'm just throwing some cards out there. I don't know what it means actually. And she won. So it was really cool to see. So if you play by gut feeling, you can also win this game. And yes, we had a leaderboard, but that doesn't work. Well, that was not a key drive. This is just a report of how well you're doing in your area. And we had one globally, locally, and per department to make sure that everyone feels like a winner. And it's not like I hate that guy and I don't trust him or whatever. And of course, that's true also. Because no one likes the guy at the top. But yeah, that's that project. So it was a really cool project, and they launched it 3 years in a row. They had this week of the values, or month of the values, and they played it for 6 weeks, and then it was done. And then reintroduced it the year after, and then reintroduced the year after. And I think then it ran out of power, and they also said, yeah, we had a conclusion, we had 3 finals, it's okay. Obviously, I would have loved to develop more stakeholder cards, more action cards, build a CMS that they could build their own cards, etc. But maybe that was a bit too stretchy. But we believe in the concept so much that we build our own white label version, which looks a bit different, as you can see, a bit more gamey. Yeah, I just wanted to show you really quickly one, if it works, yeah, one action how you can throw a card on an opponent and finisher. And the person on the right is actually a client. So I throw a card, which has negative impact as well. So some actions have positive and negative impact on the values. Sorry, so I finished her. But I would like you to know that this is a product now that's available and that I would like to share with people. We can translate it in any language you like. So, third project, and then I'll stop talking about projects and have 2 more slides left, and then we can have lunch. And I think I caught up some time, so if there's no questions at all, we can eat faster. But this project went live yesterday, and I think it's a really cool project because, I'm first going to show the video and then going to explain you why I think it's such a cool project. So if we can dim the lights a bit, then we can uplift the suspense. So the people that approach us for this project are interested in making sure people stop burning out at their work. Because burnout in Holland is a big problem. About 7% of all people before their 30s have a burnout and sit at home and can't work anymore. My girlfriend actually had it as well. She's now chief executive of Static Amsterdam, so she didn't learn a lot from it, I think. No, but she's high ambitions. No, but so a lot of people nowadays also, I think, are searching for their purpose in life and maybe don't take too good care of themselves physically, don't eat healthy enough or whatever. So the game is just an adventure game. And this is the third thing I heard yesterday, like maybe we should create games more like, here it is. whatever. So the whole concept is you had a shipwreck and you just wash up on this island, and the game just says good luck. And whatever you want to do is fine. There are some real questions in it with ABC answers to build up a profile of you. But if you want to sit down at the coast and just wait for suitcases to arrive with products in them, then that's fine as well. Because the nice thing about the ship that sunk is that we can wash up suitcases all you want. So loot crates is obviously quite a nice thing to have in your game. But you can also start crafting stuff. So you can build your own fishing bow and eventually start fishing and maintaining a life in that way instead of waiting for chips and soda to wash up and then eat that, which is not very healthy. So the whole idea of the game is that you just play through a thrilling adventure which feels a bit like Myst and Lost. Well, hopefully I hope you had that feeling and then combined, because that was our inspiration. And at the end of the game, you will see a 60, 70 or 100% profile that you build up by all the actions you took. So if you were sitting down at the sea, you're probably not very proactive. If you were creating a bow, crafting a lot and went fishing, then you're probably very proactive. So it says something about you as a person. And it's very experimental. Right now there's only a questionnaire of 200 pages that they use, or 200 questions, sorry, that they use to build up people's profiles and then give them a coaching advice, and then hopefully you'll do something that doesn't get you overworked or doesn't harm your vitality. But this product will, hopefully determine it in a different way. So it's a different application of gamification, I hope. So that was the loop I would talk about a bit personally. So I do a short recap. But to level up for me, obviously you need partners. So we're based in Holland, and we do Belgium, of course. Well, at least half of it, but the Dutch-speaking part. And in Turkey we're based. But if you're interested in some of these projects, please reach out. And I hope it was inspiring to see how you can maintain a sustainable business by just writing your blogs, doing your talks, doing some projects, and evolving into products. Thank you so much.